A panic spreading in Puerto Rico as nearly half the population still does not have access to food, water, or power.
At the request of Puerto Rico's governor, President Trump granted a 10-day waiver of the Jones Maritime Act to allow foreign flag vessels to ferry supplies.
The administration and the president, every time that we've spoken, I've had an ask, they've delivered.
The vice president promised to pass the largest tax cut in U.S. history.
As the economy expands, we'll be able to more than pay for these tax cuts. The real answer, as President Trump loves to say, is growth.
Players sending a message of unity during the national anthem, linking arms together.
But there was not much linking of arms by the fans in the stands.
We all should stand for the flag. This is America.
I kneel for the Lord, and I stand for the flag.
He's back. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise returning to Capitol Hill, and both parties overjoyed.
When I was laying out on that ball field, I just started to pray. At that point, it was in God's hands. I'm definitely a living example that miracles really do happen.
Watch that scene right there because you can tell who's going to be on the show. Geraldo's going to be here. Tommy Laren's going to be here. And we're here live from Studio F in Midtown Manhattan. Welcome aboard.
And it's Friday. We have made it. I mean, I'm here all weekend, but everyone else has made it to the end of the week.
Right. We will not put that ahead. We will not put that in front of you all day that we are off Saturday, Sunday for now. But I will say this. This is one of those weeks, I think you guys would agree, it has been on hyperspeed. It seems like yesterday was Monday. I mean, you see, it just has flown by.
Because so much happens at every minute of the day. It's
right.
Constantly changing. Every time we wake up and sit here on the couch,
sure.
There's more breaking news. There's new developments of the stories we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And, of course, the big story we've been talking about this week actually started last Friday when the President of the United States, down at that Luther Strange rally in Alabama, was talking about, you know, these people have got to stand for the national anthem. So, as you know, last Sunday on Gold Star Mother's Day, 200 players took part in a protest and essentially took a knee. As it turns out, the polls since then have shown that a majority of Americans feel, as President Trump does, that people should stand for the national anthem. So that all eyes were going to be on the Packers-Bear game last night. What would happen at Lambeau Field?
And boy, was it a powerful moment, Brian.
Yep, and first off, I want you to hear pregame. So we didn't know what was happening. We knew that Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, and you see him all over the television in his commercials, did what he's supposed to do as a quarterback, be a leader. He said to everyone in Green Bay, I want you to stand and lock arms. They didn't. And we will stand and lock arms. They did. Listen.
The bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, that is progress. Nobody on the field actually took a knee, which is great. But keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers was asking the Packers team to lock arms and everybody in the stadium for social justice. That was what that was all about. As it turns out, people in the crowd, a few of them did, and the camera guys were desperately trying to find people. But as you can see, most people had their hands over their heart. A lot of people sang along. So it's not as if that many people actually took part in the Packers.
Some of them we were just showing saluting the flag, chanting USA, USA. I mean, regardless of whether you have your hand over your heart or you're locked arms with your neighbors, this was a moment that we needed to have this week. It was a moment of coming together, and kudos to Rodgers for putting this together. He said, we're all patriotic in the locker room. He said, we love our troops, but this is about something bigger. This is about all of us coming together in unity.
It was about social justice, he said.
Right. I would a couple of things. Number one, I think that if both teams kneeled, I bet you there would have been a mass exodus from the game. And I'm telling you, these fans.
Those fans own the team. Right. They are stockholders in the team there.
Along with Greta Van Susteren, too, we should note. Yesterday there was a meeting in New York City. Select players and owners, 25 owners got together, and they said, we have a huge problem here. I said we had 48 hours on Tuesday for them to answer this question. What do you want the league to do, and what's the role with the players? Being that if you told the players to all stand, that would have been a problem, because they would have said, wait a second, you're not going to tell me what to do. It might have made things worse. But yesterday, Maurice Pouncey, a Steeler lineman, as well as Vance Joseph, the head coach of the Broncos, made it clear their players, well, despite what happened last week when some took a knee and the whole team stayed in the locker room, their players will be standing this weekend.
I promise you one thing, this week we'll all be standing out there for the national anthem. Trust me, we respect our flag and we respect the military. And
they started, with good intentions, but it's been so negative, and how can you make true change, with this toxic environment, so that was the conversation, so let's get back to playing football. Let's get back to standing for the anthem, and then moving forward, we could probably make change.
That's such a good point, because we aren't even talking about social justice about that for the past week. We've been talking about how disrespectful it is to kneel during the national anthem. So that was the Broncos this weekend. Also, the Steelers and the Patriots are going to play. There are reports that they will all be standing during the national anthem. We're going to have to wait and see what happens.
Patriots as well? You think?
Patriots.
Yeah, okay. So
I don't know. We'll see.
Danny Amendola said that 2 days ago. I didn't see a formal statement.
Look, the NFL is starting to panic, as well they should, because America wants people to stand, according to the polls, during the national anthem. NFL ticket sales are down 18% since this started. StubHub is advertising 10% discounts on NFL tickets. DirecTV is giving refunds on their Sunday tickets. So there are a lot of people who are seeing the writing on the wall, and that's why you got 3 teams already come out and said, we are going to stand for the pledge. However, a Tennessee Titan, a football player by the name of Delaney Walker, tells fans yesterday to stay home if you don't like the protests. Okay, bye, he said.
The single most damaging statement through this whole thing. That was statement.
Actions speak a lot louder than words in that moment.
Because you're oblivious to the fact that Major League Lacrosse also is professional, but they need part-time jobs because they don't have the fan support. The reason why they get paid so much in the NFL is because of fans and the interest this league has earned over the last 60 plus years. Here's Rush. Rush Limbaugh has an interesting theory on this, and we know that he used to work over at ESPN for a while, loves football. Listen.
Do believe that the left wants to cause great damage to the NFL. What does the NFL stand for? Masculinity, strength, toughness. So you go to college campuses now and you'll find classes on how to take masculinity out of men. It's actually happening. There are studies and courses in college to do this. It's patriotic. You've got the flag, you've got the anthem, you've got uniformed military personnel. All the things that the left wants to erase from this country. They don't like displays of patriotism, strength, rugged individualism. And that's why the players are being used here. I don't want the NFL to get smaller. I don't want it to become insignificant. I don't want it to be taken over by a bunch of wusses. I don't want it to be taken over by left-wing social justice causes. Use something besides the NFL sideline. Use something besides a flag. Use something besides something that people use to escape everything leftist.
So there you got Rush Limbaugh talking to Sean Hannity down in Palm Beach yesterday, where he said the left is using the players. Rush also said, what does the NFL stand for these days? And he gave a definition. On social media, a lot of people are putting out the meme, NFL now stands for no fans left if this continues.
All right, well, there was a really powerful moment yesterday. We were all on this couch, by the way, when Steve Scalise was shot. It was only 2.5 months ago. And 2.5 months later, I mean, what he has been through recovering. He then went to Washington yesterday, walked out. I think we have this video, really powerful moment. He is normally, I think, in a wheelchair, but decided to walk out on the floor there of the house with his hand braces. And he said, this experience that I've been through, what has changed me the most is my relationship with God.
And those are the images that we were showing just
2.5 months ago.
2.5 months ago. It seems shorter. It seems longer than that. And there he is yesterday. He comes in with the assistance of, it looks like a walker. If you missed what he said yesterday, there were 3 minutes of a standing ovation. Everybody in that chamber was standing, both sides of the aisle. You never see that in Washington. He spoke eloquently for about 20 minutes, and this was one of the highlights.
It's only strengthened my faith in God, and it's really crystallized what shows up as the goodness in people.
And he also went on to say he is living proof that miracles can happen.
Because the guy next to him who saved his life happens to be a Iraqi war vet who's an expert in first aid and was able to stop the bleeding and wrap it up.
Yeah,
listen, we're going to Millie and Millie has also been following what else has been going on in the world.
You know, I thought it was really touching yesterday when he called the Capitol Police officers two angels that were there with him.
They absolutely were.
It was definitely a powerful couple minutes that we were watching yesterday, that's for sure. But let's get you caught up on the rest of the headlines on this Friday morning. 2 police officers are shot by an enraged customer at a BMW dealership. The man pulling a gun on the officers when they parking lot outside Cleveland, Ohio. One cop shot in the stomach. The other was shot in the leg. Now, they are both in stable condition. The suspect was also shot and is recovering in the hospital. Witnesses say he was unhappy that his car wasn't done on time, but an official motive is still unknown. The Pentagon tapping a 3-star general to lead the hurricane relief efforts in Puerto Rico. General Jeffrey Buchanan will oversee the military response as they work to improve aid distribution on the devastated island. There are currently 10,000 federal workers, including 7,200 military members on Rico. Power, water, and gas still remain in short supply. Twitter finding and shutting down nearly 200 accounts linked to Russia. The social media site revealing the information to Congress as they investigate Russia's influence on the 2016 election. But Democratic Senator Mark Warner says Twitter is not doing enough.
Their response was, frankly, inadequate on almost every level.
Twitter, Facebook, and Google have been asked to testify in public by both the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. That's a look at your headlines on this Friday, guys.
All right, all day.
Might I remind you it's Friday?
And it's National Coffee Day.
Yes.
If you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you buy a medium coffee, you get a free medium or large coffee.
And good news, I have just bought coffee for everybody in TV right now.
Good. And by the way, this is also Name an Ambassador Russia Day. Ambassador Hudson
Congratulations.
is now there.
He
Good
did.
job.
He got unanimous support
Your dad
by the
sails
Senate
right
yesterday.
through.
So it's bittersweet, though, because now I'm sad they're actually leaving. It's real.
Yeah.
But no one better for that job. So congratulations, Dad.
You can Skype them all the time.
That's true. Technology works.
Meanwhile, on this Friday, we've got a Fox News alert. Fears this morning that the top ISIS leader is still alive, his voice possibly resurfacing in a new audio message. What message is he sending to followers? A former CIA officer will decode what we know next.
And talk about drama from Washington to Hollywood. Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder has a new gig. New evidence this morning that leader of ISIS may still be alive, despite that Russia said they killed him. The terror group releasing new audio recording claiming it's leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, in which he allegedly mocks the U.S. So what does this say about the terror group's status right now, being that they do reference our problems with North Korea? Here to decode it is former CIA station chief who served in Moscow, Iraq, and Pakistan, Daniel Hoffman. Daniel, what do you read from this? Very much alive, or are you hedging?
All indications are that he's alive. It's a proof of life. He purposely used references to current events like North Korea and Syria to refute the allegation that Russia had killed him in that airstrike in Raqqa back in May.
So what do you look for him to do next, being that he lost his territory, but he has an audience, and that's a Sunni audience because she is beginning to run ramshot all through that region?
That's absolutely right. I mean, even though battlefield losses are ephemeral, he knows that he wants to inspire his followers, not just in Iraq, but in Libya and the Philippines where the fight goes on, and he knows that cyberspace enables him to do that.
Right. You had him locked up in Iraq, and he was let go.
Yeah, I was actually in Iraq that year when he was in Camp Bucca. Yes.
And it must kill you to know he's out.
Well, it's certainly causing us great angst. Obviously, he's making a very big impact, and he'll carry on making an impact, just like Anwar al-Awlaki does with his sermons, even in death.
And like most of these coward leaders, they hide and everybody else dies. So let's talk about the other topic off your op-ed, and that's, you call it the authoritarian internet. China and Russia, we're seeing the unmasking of what their role was in our social media, Facebook and Twitter. What's going on here?
Well, Russia and China are simultaneously very nefarious users of the internet. They're targeting us with covert influence operations. In China's case, they're stealing technology as well. But they're also trying to mount cyber sovereignty within their own borders. And when they target our media, there's really two aims. First is to limit our ability for free expression in our country, but also to make the populace inside China and Russia believe that they shouldn't have confidence in using these social media sites. That's really what causes them concern.
So we come up with social media, and they're using it against us. But they go into the nuance. They knew how to foment social strife in Baltimore to make others upset. So they're in our society, and they know our hot buttons.
They do. That is the responsibility of Russian intelligence officers, to penetrate our society as much as they can and understand what makes us tick, understand these hot button issues, and then how to exploit them. It's just the difference is how they weaponize it. This is just in cyberspace.
And so you're one of the few in America not surprised by the revelations over this last few days?
No, I'm absolutely not surprised. And I wouldn't be surprised if in this case that the Russians purposely left discoverable clues so that we would have less confidence in these social media sites, that they're somehow connected to Russia.
So interesting. That's why we're able to find out ultimately who the buyer was on these internet ads. Daniel Hoffman, fascinating to be able to tap into your years of experience inside the CIA. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, 10 minutes before the bottom of the hour. Coming up, an Arizona police officer is going viral, putting what he calls pampered NFL millionaires in their place. That officer joins us next from Arizona.
Listen, you play a game. You suit up, you lose, you go home. In the real world, real heroes, when they lose games, they don't come back.
Quick headlines now. Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price apologizing for using taxpayer-funded private jets for government and personal use. He says he'll pay back $52,000, his share of the $400,000 travel bill accumulated since May. From now on, he also says he'll fly commercial. Personally, I'd like to see him get a plane. And a federal judge protecting Black Lives Matter in a court of law.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
U.S. District Judge Brian Jackson ruling Black Lives Matter cannot be sued, calling it a social movement, not an entity. The decision from a suit involving a Baton Rouge police officer injured in a violent protest. I'm out of copy, but Abby and Steve are just getting started.
We have plenty more.
Thank you, Brian. All right, firing back at those taking a knee. A fed-up police officer is going viral for putting what he calls pampered NFL millionaires in their place. You got to listen to this.
You have these people who turn around and take a knee and want to attribute all the negativity to the flag and the anthem, but don't want to attribute the positive. Listen, you play a game. This is fairy tale world. You suit up, you lose, you go home. You cry, you play another game. In the real world, real heroes, when they lose games, they don't come back. The people who die for that flag, it ain't a game. That's real life. That's real sacrifice.
And joining us right now is that Arizona police officer, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us today from Tucson.
Real, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Brandon, when we watch that video, it is so powerful. Clearly, you are agitated. Why are you fed up with the NFL players kneeling during the anthem?
Well, because I'm passionate about this country. I'm passionate about the flag. You know, I go out every day and I protect the citizens, and I'm willing to die for the citizens of this country. So when I see people disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the anthem, it makes me very upset, and I believe it's unacceptable.
You're a police officer in Arizona. You're an African-American man. You talk about that flag. What does it mean to you?
It means everything to me. It's sacrifice. I mean, this is an example of our forefathers, even African-American people who have fought so that we can have opportunities in this country to be free, to play sports, to do things like that. And it's a spit in their face to not honor the flag and to not represent it in a positive light.
Sure. Now, Brandon, last night at the Packers-Bears game, the Packers asked the fans to everybody link arms together as a sign of social justice and unity and things like that. It looked like about 95% of the crowd didn't follow that, though, and instead they had their hands over their heart. They sang along. What do you think of the fact that they're still protesting, but they're not kneeling?
I think it's, it's a cop-out. You either go all in or you just get rid of it altogether. I think that the American people are wise enough to know that the true unity is when you put your hand over your heart and you stand up for the flag and you respect this country.
Absolutely. I mean, you're an athlete yourself. You wanted to be in the NFL, right? You say you've stopped watching football. This is all too much for you. What can be done? What can change to bring you back?
I think if I see the players and the coaches and the commissioner actually stand up for what's right and say, okay, we've made our point. Now let's go out and let's respect this country. Let's respect the flag, and let's remove politics from athletics. And all I want to see is players go out and play and have a good time and enjoy the game. I don't want to see politics mixed in with athletics.
You and so many others.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's skip sports. Let's go over to the NBA for a moment. A rookie for the 76ers by the name of Ben Simmons yesterday, I believe he was in Australia. He said about the president, I think he's an idiot. If we were in Australia right now, a lot of people would call him an inappropriate word, and that's how I personally feel. He just brings more anger and hatred to the U.S. It's unneeded. You would probably admit, Brandon, that the protests on this past Sunday, when 200 players took a knee, a lot of them were in reaction to the President of the United States and the comments he had made earlier in Alabama regarding NFL players who took a knee. But to you, it's not about the president. That is always about the flag, right?
Right. I mean, I don't think the president is being divisive. I think the fact that you take a knee on the flag is you're starting division right there. And I think the president is trying to bring things back around in full circle and say, okay, we need to realize what unity means, and we need to stand for the flag and not divide ourselves by disrespecting America to push an agenda.
Yeah. I mean, quickly, you're a police officer, as I said. Your colleagues, your other police officers, what have they said about your video? I'm sure you guys talk about this behind closed doors.
Oh, yeah. Behind closed doors, in an open forum. I mean, we talk about it. I think people support what I say, and they're excited. I mean, we're like a big family. So when I'm able to talk on TV, I think it's a victory for all of us. We get a chance to express kind of how we feel. But it's been 98% positive. I haven't had a police officer say anything negatively to me about it. But, I mean, it's just the way it is. I think we're all on the same page.
All right. Brandon Tatum, an Arizona police officer, today joining us live from Tucson. Sir, thank you for your service, and have a great weekend.
Yeah. What a video that
was.
All right,
you guys do the same.
All right.
Brandon, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, we should point out Brian's been moving some of the furniture here in the studio. It's a little noisy. We apologize. Brian, you need help?
He cannot just sit still, ever.
All right, Brian, please, come on.
All right, coming up, free speech haters at it again, this time at Harvard, getting Education Secretary Betsy DeVos with a silent protest with a sign calling her a white supremacist.
Plus, while the players send their political message, fans have one of their own.
I've been through 2 wars. I've seen a lot, lost a lot of friends, and that flag is actually something. We all should stand for the flag. This is America.
Our own Todd Pyro hit the tailgaters outside of Lambeau Field last night, and he's going to join us to talk about the NFL controversy.
Todd.
You know who that
is. Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy, who's going to weigh in on what happened in his home state last night with the Packers. We cannot wait to get his take.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Packers and Bears fans get together on one thing, and so do the players. They all stood for the national anthem.
Right, but they didn't link arms, which they wanted to. The team wanted them to link arms for social justice and unity.
Right. By the way, the Packers won. 35-14.
No one's talking about that today.
Yeah.
Right?
So while that was going on inside, Todd Pyro is actually tailgating. He was also at a sports bar last night in Green Bay and joins us with the fan reactions to the protests over the anthem.
Right
Todd?
now behind me, you can see Lambeau Field, one of the most iconic football cathedrals in the country. We're inside last night, like you said, Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears renewed their storied rivalry. Outside, though, we got an opportunity to speak with fans about what really has become the national conversation. Check this out. As a veteran, when people kneel for the national anthem, what do you think?
I've been through 2 wars. I've seen a lot, lost a lot of friends, and that flag is actually something. I mean, to see that, it's a terrible thing, man.
When people kneel, what goes through your head?
Stand up.
Ashamed. Ashamed of our country.
We all should stand for the flag. This is America.
I don't even want to tell you what I feel because I think it's just absolutely the most terrible thing that I've ever seen.
I kneel for the Lord, and I stand for the flag.
Why are you wearing that button?
I think you stand for the American flag. Do you stand for the national anthem?
Do you agree with the president when he tells team owners that if they have players on their team that refuse to stand for the national anthem, that they should be fired?
I don't think that is the president's decision.
As an owner of the Packers myself, I think that when I saw Kendrick and all the other ones kneeling, that really disappointed me.
I bought season tickets to watch these players play football, not lock arms.
If your team knelt entirely, would you give up your season tickets?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do it at some other time. The national anthem is sacred to us. The flag is sacred to us.
If you want to protest, don't do it on your boss's time. Don't do it on my time.
I mean, I've been through too much, seen too much. I'm a disabled vet, actually. I took 3 shots for this country. I still stand for the flag.
I'm in the military. My brother's in the military. I have friends that are wrapped in the flag. I have family that's wrapped in the flag. And I just feel like if you're going to protest, that isn't the right time to do it.
After interviewing fans outside Lambeau about kneeling for the national anthem, we're here inside a bar just steps away from the stadium to see the response as the anthem is played.
And the home of the
So, and one of week 4, a little bit different than what we saw in games during week 3. However, emotions among the fans still pretty raw. Back to you guys.
Todd, great job. Good perspective in the sports bar where most of us watch games, and as well as the stadium if you can get a ticket.
What a job this is. We sent him to the bar. Meanwhile, 90 miles west of where he was sitting right there is the district of Sean Duffy, who is a congressman from Wisconsin. What do you make of what the Packers players were asking the fans to do, which was link arms for social justice?
Well, my take is they wanted us to link arms in the stands in support of them, on the field linking arms, which was in support of those who are kneeling. Right? They were kneeling for the flag and saying, let's support all those who are kneeling for the national anthem and against our flag. And what you saw last night is in Wisconsin, that doesn't play well. To see all of those
95%
Packers
of the fans were not doing it.
Hands over their hearts, or those veterans saluting.
We have them up right there, these 4 veterans.
It makes me want to cry. It's, you know what? The Packers can get us to come out in 10-degree below weather and watch a football game outside, but they can't get us to disrespect our flag.
Right, and I think both teams realize that. The Broncos are saying this. They're going to Steelers who stood in the locker room. We're going to be on the sideline. The word is that Patriots going to be on the sideline. Do you think we could be on the other side of this issue now by Monday morning?
God, yeah, I hope so. I love football. I want to turn my TV back on. I love this stuff.
You shut it off?
I shut it off. I didn't watch last night. Because I can't support these guys when they're not supporting our flag. I mean, our military, all the great things our flag represents, all that our veterans have fought for, it represents the civil rights movement. Absolutely. It represents women's right to vote. The flag represents all those great things our country has offered the greatest nation on earth.
Last Sunday, 200 players took part in the protest, taking a knee, largely in part to the fact that Donald Trump had said things regarding them doing just that in the NFL. During the anthem is not the time to protest any politician.
Listen, absolutely. There are all kinds these guys especially have to protest, but during the national anthem is not the right right time. And you know what?
Yeah.
These, I mean, I went to the first Packer game in the preseason, and these are blue collar. The wife had given the husband for Christmas last year their one ticket to this game, and they save up and they want to go. These people love their country. They fly the flag in front of their yard, and they love their football. And then those two things crash together to force people to pick over football and the flag. I love that we picked the flag.
And I just want to say this on behalf of the players. A lot of them are great. Almost 90% of them are unbelievable success stories, overcoming incredible odds to do something 0.0001% even get on the end of an NFL roster. That's right. That started to play this game.
I think it's fair to say that these players, they didn't want to be in this position. They were forced in to say, I just want to play football, but now I'm forced in to go, do I kneel, do I stand, do I link arms, do I support my players, do I support my country, what do I do? I mean, they're all in a bad place.
Or the player that accidentally walked out during the before the national anthem, and he stood there and put his hand over his heart. But you're right, it's a position many of them don't want to be in. So there was that moment of unity on the field last night, but also where you work in Washington, there was this incredibly powerful moment of unity where Steve Scalise came back to work. It was almost 3 months ago when he was shot, practicing on that baseball field for the congressional game. What was that moment like? You were there.
It's a pretty cool moment when there's a lot of division in America and in the Congress, and to see both sides stand up and fists in the air,
How often does that happen?
Not very often at all. I mean, it's a rare occasion, and everyone welcoming back Steve Scalise to the House floor,
including Nancy Pelosi.
Absolutely.
She had great remarks.
Steny Honer, Steny's welcoming him, and Nancy's giving a welcome. Listen, because you know what? We stand together. This was an assault on freedom and liberty when he was shot, and we all stand together as a Congress when one of us are taken out. And I think when he mentioned the fact that world leaders were calling him and wishing him well, it's a fact. America. This was an assault on the Congress, and they recognize that. It wasn't an assault on just a man. It was on everybody.
Another symbol, just like the flag.
That's right.
Now let's go.
Well played. That was great.
Real quick on tax reform. There's a lot in the Republican caucus a little upset about as it comes to deductions and state and local tax.
Just in New York.
Where do you think? Peter and so is Chicago and Chicago too. So where do you guys stand? I mean, if 10 means you're all together, where are you now? And 1 means you're apart.
So you have some members of Congress from New York and Illinois and California that don't like this. But let's be clear: when you are a lower income person and your deductions, your standard deduction goes from $12,000 to $24,000, this doesn't matter for you.
That's right.
Now you at this table, you might pay a little more because you're not going to be able to deduct that. I mean, the bottom line is why are Texans and Floridians subsidizing your write-off for a 12%?
But do you realize your argument's with your own party? The argument you just put out there is with your own party.
But if we're looking out for low-income, middle-income folks, this isn't going to impact them. Higher income folks, it will. And you know what? Democrats who want to have a income join us in this effort, right? Because we all want to go after.
So people who don't itemize. This is not going to impact.
But here's we're going to have to work through this. But I think we're trying to get a lot of revenue to lower rates. This is the largest revenue raiser. It's about $1 trillion in revenue when we don't allow you to write off your state and local taxes. So if you take this away, this thing is going to absolutely collapse. So we need it.
Yeah, okay, we do. Congressman, great to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I just want that child deduction.
That's all I want. So 8 kids, right?
Tell your wife we love her so much.
We got to increase that a little bit more.
All right, thanks so much, Congressman. Speaking of tax reform, White House Budget Director Mick Mulvaney will be here live. That's what.
Plus, will they show how the House held him in contempt from Washington to Hollywood? Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is getting a TV drama based on him. Will it have his whole history? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm sure.